Elias had survived asteroid storms, reactor failures, and the wrath of 3 different commanding officers, but nothing unsettled him quite like the silence of the cathedral. Its vast doors closed behind him with a soft hiss, sealing away the bright corridors of the orbital station, and leaving him in a hall that felt too sacred for human footsteps. Blue light shimmered from the crystal pillars, pulsing like slow heartbeats. He was only supposed to deliver a diplomatic gift, nothing more than a carved hollow emblem from Earth's council. But now he stood alone, clutching the box to his chest, unsure why the escorts had disappeared or why the temperature dropped the moment he crossed the threshold. Elias cleared his throat, the echo bouncing strangely off the domed ceiling. "Hello, I was told to meet the minister. Anyone here?" Only the quiet hum answered him. He took one cautious step forward, then another. The air smelled faintly of stardust, the strange metallic scent the released when using their telepathic abilities. He'd worked with aliens before, but they were different, mysterious, reclusive almost. Humans rarely saw them without layers of ritual between. Elias tried to relax. The sooner he gave the gift, the sooner he could leave. But the lights brightened. A gentle vibration rolled through the floor, like the whole chamber exhaled. Elias froze as a soft melody drifted through the hall, no instrument he knew, more like light singing to light. Then the walls themselves shifted, rearranging patterns until an archway opened ahead. He swallowed hard. This wasn't in the briefing. Still, he walked through. The next chamber stunned him into a halt. It was circular, lined with floating lanterns of molten silver. In the center, a platform glowed with swirling symbols, and on it stood a figure, tall, elegant, radiant with soft white luminescence. Her hair drifted like strands of comet trails, and her eyes held the depth of a nebula. A royal. Before he could react, a low choir of voices rose from hidden corners. The lanterns brightened. A gust of warm energy brushed against him, tugging at his emotions, stirring feelings of awe and fear. "Human traveler," the royal spoke. Her voice was not loud, yet it filled every inch of the chamber. "You arrive in the hour of binding. Your presence is witnessed." Elias blinked. Thanks. I'm actually just here for a simple delivery." She stepped forward, her glow softening. "Your offering is accepted." He held out the box, relieved. "Great, it's for the minister." But she didn't take it. Instead, she placed her hand over her chest and bowed her head. "I am Princess of the Line, and you, Elias of Earth, have answered the cosmic summons. You have stepped willingly into the circle of joining." Elias felt his heartbeat trip over itself. "Wait, circle of what? I think you mean a diplomatic exchange." Tilted her head slightly. "The exchange will be completed when the vow is spoken." "I didn't agree to any vow." The lanterns flickered, as if disappointed. A soft whisper breezed through the chamber. "He stands at the Union altar. He denies not the light." Elias backed up. "Look, I swear humans have an entire department that handles this kind of thing. I'm just a technician, wrong guy." But the glowing symbols beneath his feet brightened, reacting to him. His expression shifted from serene to genuinely surprised. "You do not know, you crossed the threshold alone. You carried the emblem with reverence. You responded to the song. These actions complete the first half of the rite." Elias stared at her, horrified. I was just being polite." "The cosmos recognizes intention more deeply than you think." He felt dizzy. "Are you telling me I accidentally joined a wedding ceremony?" Nodded once, solemn. "Not merely a wedding, a bonding, a union of fate and light." Elias' knees nearly buckled. Because every story he'd heard said the same thing. Bondings are eternal. Elias stood frozen on the glowing platform, feeling like gravity itself had turned against him. The symbols beneath his boots pulsed with gentle light, as if the floor knew something he didn't. His breath came unsteady, and his hands trembled around the gift box he still held. Princess watched him closely. Her glow dimmed to a softer silver, almost sympathetic. "Do not fear. The binding has not completed yet. Only the first recognition has begun." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" Elias whispered. He tried to breathe slowly, but the air felt too thin. I'm not part of your ritual, I don't even understand your culture. Stepped toward him with careful grace, her feet barely seeming to touch the floor. Yet the cosmos answered when you stepped into the circle. Such resonance does not happen by mistake. Elias shook his head, voice rising with panic. I wasn't resonating, I was lost. Someone told me to bring a box to a minister, that's it. Why would the universe drag me into a wedding? Behind her the lanterns flared, casting long shadows across the walls. The choir's whispers returned, soft but unsettling. The light recognizes the seeker walks the path. Elias groaned, I'm not a seeker, I just follow orders. Lifted her hand and the whispers faded instantly, as if obeying her will. She looked at him with a calm he wished he could borrow. Elias, this ritual chooses through alignment of spirit. You crossed the threshold without fear. You approached without hesitation. These signs mark openness. Elias rubbed his forehead. You think I wasn't afraid? I was terrified. I just didn't want to offend anyone. Her eyes shone gently. Courage often hides inside small actions. He opened his mouth to protest again, but the chamber suddenly shifted. A ripple of light burst across the floor and the platform lifted an inch, floating as if freed from weight. Elias stumbled, nearly dropping the box, but steadied his arm with a soft touch. Her hand felt warm, like sunlight, but the contact sent a strange tingle through him. Why is it doing that? He asked, voice cracking. Looked troubled for the first time. It seems the second phase begins sooner than expected. This is unusual. Unusual how? Elias whispered. For a bond to react so quickly, it suggests strong attunement, uncommon between strangers. Elias nearly choked. Attuned to someone I just met in a glowing room? Absolutely not. Did not smile. I understand your fear. I did not expect the circle to choose today either. My house prepared for a diplomatic blessing, nothing more. The platform vibrated gently beneath them. The lanterns drifted closer, forming a silent orbit. Elias looked around, trapped between awe and horror. I need to talk to someone, he said. A council member, a translator, anyone. You may leave after the second phase finishes, said, if the light releases you. The light, I'm asking you. Hesitated, her glow flickered like a candle in doubt. The bond is older than my lineage. It obeys cosmic law, not royal command. If the ritual senses balance between us, it continues. If not, it fades. So it could fade? Elias asked quickly. Yes, if the connection proves unstable. Elias exhaled in shaky relief. Perfect. Let's make it unstable. Consider me extremely unstable. The platform brightened, as if offended. Lips parted as though she wanted to laugh but couldn't. That may not help. The bond reads truth, not declarations. A soft chime resonated through the hall. The lanterns aligned in a perfect circle. A stream of pale energy lifted from the platform, swirling around both of them. His expression became solemn again. The second phase begins, the reflection. It shows each heart to the other. Elias swallowed. What does that mean? The swirling light thickened, becoming almost like fog made of stardust. Warmth spread across Elias' shoulders. His pulse thundered. It means, whispered, you will see what the bond sees. It will show your intentions, your fears, your hidden courage. And I will see it too. Elias stepped back instinctively. You can't read my heart, that's personal. The reflection is not reading, she said softly. It is revealing. Before he could protest again, the light surged. The world around him dissolved into shimmering white. And Elias felt something touch the deepest part of his spirit, gentle, searching, and impossibly ancient. When the white light swallowed Elias, he expected pain or heat or something dramatic. But instead, everything fell silent. The ground beneath him softened into nothing. His heartbeat echoed like a slow drum inside an empty universe. He floated. No platform. No lanterns. No princess. Only a vast field of pale starlight stretching around him, glowing softly like a dream he wasn't ready to see. Elias turned slowly, breath trembling. Hello, anyone. A gentle warmth pressed against his back. He spun, and there she was. Princess stood a few steps away, her glow dimmed, her expression strangely vulnerable. The starlight reflected in her eyes like she was standing inside her own soul. "This is the reflection," she said quietly. "Here truth takes shape." Elias swallowed hard, suddenly aware that he wasn't wearing his jacket, his boots, or even his tool belt. He looked down and realized he stood in simple light, as if the universe stripped away everything he used to hide behind. Noticed his discomfort. "Do not fear, nothing here can harm you." "That's not what I'm afraid of," he whispered. She tilted her head. "Then what?" "That you'll see too much." Before she could answer, the starlight shifted like a page turning. A soft hum rose from the ground, and a faint silhouette formed in front of Elias, blurry at first, then sharpening into a familiar image. A small house. A dim porch. A tired-looking man kneeling to fix a cracked oxygen pump. Elias gasped. "No, why that?" Stepped beside him. "This is your memory." The scene played out in silence. Young Elias, maybe 10 or 11, worked beside his father, both covered in dust from the mining colony. The boy's hands shook as he tried to hold a wrench, but his father smiled gently and guided him. "The pump must work," the older man said. "Not because someone ordered you, but so the people inside can breathe." Elias felt his throat tighten. He hadn't thought of that night in years. Watched quietly. Your heart learned duty early. The memory dissolved into starlight, replaced by another. This time Elias stood in a training field, older, exhausted, clutching a flight manual. His instructor shouted at him for making a small error, but Elias corrected it again and again, even when no one believed he'd pass. Nodded slowly. "You carry quiet determination." Elias stared at the vision, embarrassed. These aren't special moments. They're just things I had to do." "In the reflection," said softly, "the smallest truth shines." Before Elias could react, the starlight shifted again. This time the scene stunned him. He saw himself, older, sitting alone at a mess hall table on an orbital station. The place was bustling, but he sat quietly, staring at a small digital photo of his family. His mother smiling, his father trying not to blink, his sister waving wildly at the camera. Elias felt something ache deep in his chest. "I shouldn't be seeing this. This feels too real." "You miss them," murmured. "Your longing is strong." He brushed a hand across his eyes. "Everyone misses someone." "But your heart still hopes," she said, "even when you think it doesn't." The mess hall faded, and suddenly Elias wasn't looking at his memories anymore. He was looking at. He saw a towering crystalline hall lit with violet flames. Nobles stood in distant rows, their glowing forms cold and rigid. Stood at the center, younger, her light brighter but her posture tense. A voice echoed in the memory. "A princess serves the cosmos. Her heart is the property of light." Elias stared, shocked. "Your people said that?" His glow flickered. "They say it still." Next, the vision shifted again. Sat alone in a chamber of swirling stars, surrounded by books encoded in beams of light. She pressed her hands against her chest, as if trying to calm the brightness inside her. Her expression was full of longing, a desire not for freedom, but for understanding. Elias whispered, "You're lonely." Lowered her gaze. A royal shines for all, but rarely shares her true self. The scene dissolved. For a heartbeat, they stood together in the empty universe, two souls suddenly far less foreign than before. Before Elias could speak, energy crackled above them. The starlight thickened and drew downward, forming a glowing ring around both their forms. The reflection responded as if it sensed something shift between them. His voice broke the silence. "The bond reacts to harmony." Elias stepped back. "Harmony? No, this is just understanding. That's not the same." But the ring brightened. The universe around them trembled. His eyes widened. "The reflection is choosing." Elias shook his head as fear surged through him. "No, no, not yet." But the light did not slow. It embraced them both. It sealed the moment. And the third phase began, whether they wanted it or not. The starlight around Elias and pulsed with warmth, yet it felt like chains. The reflection had ended, but its truth lingered, shimmering in every particle of the empty universe that now surrounded them. Elias could still see fragments of their memories in the air, like faint stars refusing to fade. His chest ached with the weight of things he hadn't realized he carried: family, duty, fear, hope. Its glow had dimmed, replaced by a soft, thoughtful silver. She moved closer, and for the first time, Elias noticed how fragile she seemed without the grandeur of her ceremonial robes and crystal halls. "Elias," she whispered, "you have seen my truth, and I have seen yours. The bond, it does not lie." He shook his head, disbelief etched into every line of his face. "That doesn't mean anything. It's just magic or ritual or whatever this bond is. It can't tell me who I am supposed to be." She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she lifted her hand, and the glowing ring of light descended to surround them both, pressing gently against their bodies. It wasn't painful, but it felt inevitable, like gravity pulling them toward the same center. "The bond is older than my family, older than your species. It responds only to intent and heart. The rest is meaningless." Elias swallowed hard, the words sinking into him. "So you're saying I don't have a choice?" His gaze softened, her glow trembling like a candle in wind. "You always have a choice, Elias, but the universe will know if you resist or accept. That is what the light tests." He clenched his fists. "I didn't ask to be in this. I came here with a box, that's it. And now I'm supposed to be engaged, married, to someone I've known for, what, an hour?" Her smile was faint, but it carried warmth. "Engaged is a word from your language. Bonded is the truth. And ours, Elias, are meaningless here. The bond sees intent, not time." Elias felt panic rising again, clawing at his chest. "I don't have intent. I don't even understand what I'm supposed to feel." Tilted her head. "Then let me show you." She reached toward him, and for a moment he flinched, then froze as her fingers barely touched his wrist. Light swirled around them, and suddenly he felt calm. He felt like someone had lifted the chaos from inside him and set it into order, like a storm finding the ocean. "Feel it?" she asked softly. Elias nodded slowly, voice barely audible. I think so." "That is the bond. It feels what your heart refuses to admit." He looked into her eyes, and for the first time the fear shifted into something heavier, something like awe. I can't just let this happen. I don't even know you." Her glow brightened a little, like a sunrise brushing the horizon. "You have seen me, and I have seen you. That is enough for the bond to start, but nothing is finished until we both allow it to continue." The starlight flared, spinning faster, wrapping around their hands and shoulders. Elias felt an invisible force pressing him closer. He gasped, resisting, yet not entirely. It was wrong, everything about this felt wrong, but he could not deny the truth creeping into him, soft and persistent, whispering that maybe he did belong here in some way he did not understand. I don't want to be trapped," he admitted, voice breaking. "I've spent my life fixing things that went wrong, saving people, surviving. I can't just survive a bond like this." His voice was gentle but unwavering. "This is not survival, Elias, this is choice. The bond is a path, not a trap. If you resist, it will fade. If you accept, it will guide." He looked away, heart hammering. Every instinct told him to run, to refuse, to escape back to the station, to the stars, to safety. But the pull of the bond, soft and insistent, pressed into him deeper than gravity. And somewhere beneath the panic and disbelief, he realized something terrifying. Maybe he didn't want to resist. He met her gaze, searching, trembling. "If I let it, what happens to me?" Smile was faint, tinged with hope and sadness. "Then we begin together, not as strangers, not as obligation, but as equals." Elias exhaled, and the starlight wrapped around him, not crushing but holding, waiting for his answer. He closed his eyes, feeling every heartbeat, every fear, every longing, and realized that the choice was no longer simple. The universe waited with bated breath. And for the first time, Elias considered letting it choose him. Elias opened his eyes slowly, the starlight still swirling around him like a river frozen in motion. The warmth pressed gently against his chest, not heavy but insistent. It whispered that running was no longer the solution. That truth, buried deep under panic and disbelief, nudged him forward. Floated a step closer, her glow radiating soft silver light, and for the first time Elias noticed the faint tremor in her hands. She was trying not to seem nervous, trying to maintain the composure of a princess trained to embody eternity, but he could feel it, subtle and human. "Elias," she said, voice soft but steady, "you have seen my truth. You have seen your own. The bond is waiting for your intention, not fear, not duty, your intention." He swallowed hard. "Intention, I don't know if I have one. I didn't come here to bond. I didn't come here to—" His words caught in his throat. The reflection had shown him everything he had tried to hide from himself. The moments of courage, the moments of longing, the nights when he had wished for someone to understand him. He hadn't realized how hungry he was for connection. Extended her hand again, this time slowly, with patience. "You are ready when you choose to be. The bond does not force, Elias, it only responds." His fingers hovered over hers. The air around them hummed with quiet anticipation. He could feel the pulse of the universe itself in that moment, stretching beyond the reflection, beyond memory and light. It was ancient, infinite, and terrifying. And yet, there was a promise woven into the rhythm of it, as if the cosmos itself was urging him forward. He exhaled, a shiver running through his body. What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? Sighs softened. You are human, that is enough. The simplicity of the statement struck him like a hammer. Enough, not perfect, not divine, just enough. A laugh threatened to escape him, brittle and shaky, but he swallowed it back. He had spent years proving himself, surviving when others doubted, fixing what was broken. And yet here, all that experience, all that effort, felt like preparation for this single moment. He let his hand brush hers, finally closing the gap. Light surged around them, warm and steady, wrapping them together. His fear didn't vanish, but it changed. It became part of him, not something that could control him. He could choose, finally, to walk forward. "Elias," whispered, her voice trembling slightly now, "if you take this step, there is no turning back." He looked into her eyes, into the galaxy reflected in them, and saw courage, hope, and loneliness all at once. He saw a being who had lived lifetimes under expectation and duty, and he realized she was offering him not just the bond, but trust. The trust to accept him as he was, human, fragile, and imperfect. I take it," he said, voice firm despite the tremor. "I step forward." The starlight flared, bright and blinding, and Elias felt himself lifted. Gravity, fear, and doubt fell away, replaced by a sense of completeness he had never imagined. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of something vast, alive, and eternal. His hand gripped his gently, anchoring him as the energy wrapped around them both. "So begins the union," she said softly, a smile breaking through her solemnity for the first time. He laughed then, a shaky, unsteady laugh that turned into a gasp of joy. The universe stretched around them, stars spinning like ribbons, but he felt grounded. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel like a lone survivor in a cold, indifferent cosmos. He felt seen, and he felt needed. The starlight condensed, forming a radiant circle around them. Their hands entwined, hearts racing together. Elias felt the bond etching itself into him, not as a cage, not as an obligation, but as a partnership, a bridge between worlds, between species, between hearts. "Are you ready?" asked, her voice trembling with emotion, with relief, with hope. "I am," Elias said, his voice steady. "I am ready." The light pulsed one final time, and then the reflection faded, leaving them suspended in quiet starlight, hand in hand. The fear, the hesitation, and the disbelief were still there, but so was something new, trust, connection, and the beginning of something larger than either of them could imagine alone. For the first time, Elias felt like a human who mattered, not just in his own tiny corner of the galaxy, but in the vast expanse, alongside a princess of the stars. And somehow, miraculously, that was enough. Elias opened his eyes and realized they were no longer alone in the empty universe. Slowly, the starlight around them coalesced into the familiar shape of the cathedral, hovering as if in a dream. The glowing lanterns floated above them, but now the soft pulse of light carried a different weight, one of expectation, history, and destiny. His hand remained in his, warm and steady, but her expression had grown serious. "The bond is accepted," she said softly, "but the ceremony is far from complete. The tradition is not merely about union. It carries responsibility toward our people, our world, and toward each other. Elias nodded, feeling the sudden heaviness of her words. He had thought that stepping into the bond was enough, that once he chose, the rest would follow easily. But now, surrounded by the cathedral's crystalline pillars and the quiet hum of energy, he realized that choice was only the beginning. The responsibility was enormous, and for a moment, fear crept back into his chest. "Responsibility?" he asked, voice low. I'm just a human. I've fixed engines, not kingdoms. I've solved crises on stations, not destinies." Tilted her head, her comet-like hair floating around her shoulders. "That is why the bond is remarkable. Humans are fragile yet strong. You do not bear the weight of immortality, nor the certainty of our ways. You bear what is honest, courage, hope, and choice. That is enough to balance the scales." He swallowed, the words heavy and strange. "Enough." "Yes," she said simply, squeezing his hand. "Enough to stand beside me." A sudden tremor ran through the cathedral and the floating lanterns swirled faster. Elias instinctively braced himself but held him steady. "They are reacting," she said. "The elders can sense the bond. They are evaluating." Elias blinked. "Evaluating." His eyes met his, fierce and honest. "The do not take unknown unions lightly. Some may question. Some may resist. They need to witness your intention, your willingness to embrace the unknown." Elias' stomach twisted. He had survived space storms, hostile aliens, and sabotage on stations. But the idea of facing a room full of glowing, telepathic beings judging his worth, that terrified him. "You can do this," whispered as if reading his thoughts. "I will not step forward without you, and neither will the bond. Trust in yourself as you trusted me." He nodded, taking a deep breath. The cathedral expanded around them, walls pulsing with light as if the building itself was alive. Slowly, figures began to emerge, nobles, scholars, and warriors, all observing. Their gazes were distant yet piercing, and Elias felt the weight of their scrutiny. He stepped forward by his side, feeling the energy of the bond anchoring him. Each step was deliberate, each heartbeat steadying the rising tide of fear. One of the eldest nobles floated forward, light wrapping around his form like a cloak of stars. "The human chooses," he intoned, voice low and melodic. "He accepts the bond. He faces the path unbroken. Tell us, Elias of Earth, do you understand the weight of what you bind yourself to?" Elias met the elder's gaze, his voice firm despite the trembling inside. "I do. I may be human, fragile, and untested in ways your people are, but I choose to stand. I choose to face the responsibilities, the unknowns, because I choose to face them with her." The cathedral trembled, not in anger, but in recognition. The other nobles shifted, whispers flowing like currents through the air. Slowly, their expressions softened, curiosity turning to cautious approval. His hand tightened in his, and for the first time, Elias felt a deep connection, not just to her, but to something larger than himself. A soft wave of light washed over them, and the bond responded with a gentle pulse, resonating through his chest like a living heartbeat. He could feel it now, not just as duty, but as hope, courage, and an expanding sense of belonging. Leaned closer, her voice barely audible over the cathedral's hum. "We have begun, Elias, together." He looked at her, truly looked, and smiled, nervous, unsteady, but genuine. "Together," he echoed. Above them, the cathedral glowed brighter, as if the stars themselves approved. In that light, Elias realized that he was no longer just a human trapped in alien rituals. He was part of something magnificent, something that could span galaxies, bridging worlds through trust, courage, and choice. And for the first time, he felt not fear, but resolve. The cathedral shimmered with light, casting long, flowing shadows that seemed alive, moving like rivers of starlight. Elias felt the warmth of the bond pulse in his chest, steady now, comforting, and undeniably real. For months, years, or maybe just minutes, he had no sense of time. He had lived a life of running, surviving, and fixing things for others. Now, for the first time, he understood what it meant to stand beside someone willingly, as an equal with purpose beyond survival. His hand was firm in his, a tether anchoring him to reality. Her glow radiated calm strength, but her eyes held something more, vulnerability, trust, and hope. "Elias," she said softly, "the elders have witnessed. The bond is acknowledged. You are accepted. but the choice to continue, that is yours alone. He took a deep breath, feeling the energy of the cathedral, of the bond, of her presence weaving through him. The starlight reflected on the crystal pillars, refracting into infinite patterns. He realized that every challenge he had faced, every storm, every mechanical failure, every lonely moment in the vastness of space, had led him here. "I choose," he said, voice low but unwavering. "I choose to continue, not because I have to, not because it's expected, but because I want to. Because standing here with you, it feels like I've finally found something I've been searching for." His lips curved into a faint, genuine smile, her glow brightening as the cathedral responded with a soft hum. The starlight seemed to bend around them, forming intricate spirals that lifted from the ground, weaving a protective dome of shimmering energy. The elders watched silently, their glowing forms nodding in acknowledgement, their telepathic presence offering quiet approval. The human and the princess stood at the center of the dome, hands intertwined, hearts beating in rhythm with the universe. Elias felt the pulse of the bond strengthen, not as a cage, not as obligation, but as a shared promise. He could feel his heart, her hopes and fears, and his own courage intertwined in a way that transcended words. "Do you feel it?" she whispered. Elias nodded. "I do. It's alive, not just the bond, but everything, like the universe is waiting with us." Smile widened, and her glow brightened into a dazzling silver. "Then we begin, not as strangers, not as duty-bound participants, but together. We shape this path, Elias, together." He laughed softly, the sound mingling with the cathedral's hum, light and unburdened. "Together," he echoed. And for the first time in his life, he felt a freedom unlike any he had known. Not the freedom of running or surviving or escaping, but the freedom of choosing to stay, to connect, to belong. Above them, the starlight pulsed like a heartbeat, then extended outward, touching every corner of the cathedral and beyond. The elders, the floating lanterns, the crystal pillars, they all seemed to acknowledge the choice, their forms brightening, harmonizing with the rhythm of the bond. Elias felt the enormity of it, the weight of worlds, the responsibility, the history of the line, but it no longer crushed him. It lifted him. Tilted her head toward him, her comet-like hair drifting in the soft luminescence. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We will face trials and the galaxy will test us, but together, Elias, we can endure anything." He squeezed her hand, a smile spreading across his face. "Then let's face it," he said. "Not as a technician and a princess, not as human but as partners, as equals, as something stronger than either of us alone." A final wave of radiant light surged through the cathedral, filling every corner, every heart, every pulse of the bond. Elias could feel it in his bones, in his mind, in his soul, the quiet, profound certainty that this was where he belonged. Not just surviving, not just existing, living with purpose, with connection, with someone who saw him fully and whom he saw fully in return. The elders receded, the cathedral quieted, and the floating lanterns drifted to their original positions. But the dome of light around Elias and remained, eternal and alive, a symbol of their choice, their union, and their bond. Elias looked at, and she looked back at him. In that gaze was a promise as infinite as the stars themselves. Together, they would shape a future neither could have imagined alone. And for the first time, Elias of Earth did not feel lost in the cosmos. He was home. Hand in hand, glowing and radiant, human, and stepped forward, together, into a galaxy waiting for their story.